Headmaster, teacher, fellow schoolmates, good morning. Every year, 2,000 boys and their own families dream the same dream. They dream to get into this school, to sit on those very benches you're on today, wearing that uniform we're so proud of, believing they're DBS boys. Every year, only 200 make it through. 200 boys living the dreams of 1,800. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know me, I'm James Lowe from Grade 12 IB, and I'm here today to ask a very simple question. What are those 200 boys doing with the dreams of all those others who made it through? What are those 200 boys thinking about living the dreams by passing so many auditions, so many selections, getting in because this school believed they would live up to the diocesan spirit? There are two things I'd like to share with you today. It's the meaning and responsibility of being a diocesan. So let's start with the meaning. Over the past 140 years, hundreds have tried to explain what it means to be a diocesan. We've heard explanations of the DBS spirit, heard the united power of 1,400 boys, heard athletes, musicians, debaters, actors fight for the same cause. So I thought I would share my own story in this final year of my school life, of what it all meant for me. I walked into this school at grade 7, unsure of my future, unfamiliar of the environment. I remember looking up to the prefects standing on both sides of the hall, thinking they were so handsome and tall. It was a year where I was absent-minded, where I forgot to hand in homework, didn't do well academically, and never truly grasped secondary school life. And so I entered grade 8D being a bit unsure of everything. I ended up being bullied and stepped on, crushed in confidence, and frequently isolated. And in grade 9, I entered grade 9T, an event a lot of people called a fall from grace. But that was the turning point of my secondary school life. It was a year where I never truly worried about competition, struggles, and peer pressure. We had athletes who were passionate about being a diocesan, genuine, hardworking people who really wanted to do better. It was a year where I truly realized what it meant to be a diocesan. Because a lot of people tell me that this school is segregated, divided, no longer one. They tell me there's the DPS group and the MJT group, and there's the IB group and the NSS group, that we're living on two different systems that will never unite again. But are we? And should we? I've come to realize after all these years in this school that one thing will never change. No matter whether we're in IB or NSS, in the so-called better classes or worse classes, we still wear the same ties. Our shirts are still white and our trousers are still gray. And before this tie turns into something else, and no matter whether your trousers are somehow black or somehow gray, before our shirts turn yellow, we will always be part of the same school, and we will still call ourselves diocesans. It's for that reason that I call for a very simple thing. Let's forget about which class we're in, which system we study. Let's remember that we're part of one school. Because no matter what problems we may have, operationally, administratively, if we start from the students and change this attitude from its very fundamentals, to make everyone else, not in your own class, not in your own system, your enemies, we will make a difference. This school has always been about the students. So let's begin with the students and live up to our own diocesan names once again. That is the first thing I'd like to share with you today. The second is the responsibility of being a diocesan. I've recently seen, surprisingly in lower forms, many Facebook statuses that attack so irresponsibly teachers in this school. I've seen how people complain how stupid assemblies have become, how it's a waste of time, how we could do better things with it. Well, I've had my days of sitting down there, thinking that this is all a waste of time. But this is my final year, and perhaps the last time I will stand on this stage talking to you all. I've realized that at one point in my life, my views of assembly have changed remarkably. Because when you think about it, this is the only time of the year, or only time of the week, where the whole school sits together for the same purpose. A lot of people talk about the DBS spirit, how the only thing that differentiates Diocesanes from the rest of the world is that we are truly united. Well, I ask a simple question. Why would a united school of students feel ashamed of the only time they would sit together for the same purpose? We fall asleep, we chit-chat, we secretly curse the speakers on stage, as obviously is happening now, laugh at their mistakes, boo when they're boring, and drift off when they're good. How could we claim to be diocesanes, united diocesanes, when we do that? Which brings me to the final and most important point I would like to share with you. That responsibility comes before any right we have as a student. I've seen protests against the school's policy. I've been part of protests against the school's policy. I've seen protests against how teachers teach. I've seen protests against unfairness, people wanting higher marks, people having their parents call to skip PE lessons, having the parents call to get higher grades. People saying, I pay to be in the school, why can't I do this and that? Well, I'm here to say that before we could do anything like that, we need to fulfill our obligations as a student. We need to make use of our time and explore our fullest potential. It doesn't mean we need to be best in the class, best in the form, best in whatever we do. It means that we need to strive for the best we can do, to diversify our interests and perform at our maximum every single time. If you're an athlete, don't just run and forget about everything else. If you're a singer, don't just sing and forget about everything else. And if you're a debater, don't just debate and forget about everything else. It's not an easy thing. I failed in doing so. But at one point, we all have to rise up to those challenges in life, to make ourselves an all-rounded person, not just lopsidedly good at one thing. And when we have fulfilled that obligation as a student, we earn our right to criticize others. Before you tell your mom to pick up the phone, before you yell at a teacher because you think he's wrong, call yourself first and see whether you need to yell at yourself. And so now, at the end of all this, I'd just like to leave you with one thing. I've been through many kinds of love in the past. I've got together, broken apart. I've loved so hard that I couldn't control myself. But every time I loved, I realized that when you have to share whom you love with someone else, you'll always become more miserable. But there's one kind of love that no matter how many people you have to share it with, it will only make you more loving and more devoted. It's the love for this school, its ideal, its spirit, and its entirety. Boys, we need to have faith in our own ability. We need to stop making excuses for failure. We need to stop using arrogance to mask incompetence. We need to restore the full meaning of that old word, duty. It is the other side of rights. Be a diocesan and live up to your names. Thank you.